Yo, what's up? I'm KallaTheYapper, and I'm back with another reaction. Today is gonna be a little something different, cause it's been a while since I've reacted to a theory video. Like it's been months since the last time I reacted to a theory video, and today I wanted to change things up because I told you I was gonna start changing things up and like react to things that's not drama related, and react to some of this theory video content because it is genuinely good content. And I'm going to react to one made by the Gamer Chronicles. Now, I did react to, not react, but I did watch some of their videos, especially their HSR crossovers with Genshin Impact videos. I really did enjoy those. And I might mention some of that, not his videos in particular, but my thoughts on like the crossover between both worlds and potentially that Genshin's world exists in Star Wars universe or vice versa, or Star Wars universe surrounds Genshin's world. Anyway, let's get into the reaction, shall we?
You know, it's almost funny at this point. It always seems to come back to this, doesn't it? And obviously, by far, we've had the big...
Okay, nice edit. I like this. This is a good starter.
Biggest lore drops of all time in 6.3. And already just by reading some of your comments, going over my recap of the quest, it seems like most of us are on the same page. So for this video, we're going to be going over the Travelers and Paimon. Since this quest could have very well revealed, finally, who and what the Travelers are, why they're here, how long they've been here, and what the hell Paimon finally is.
True. Because, like, at least from Ashikai's theory video, we got, like, some, at least with her Teyvat world structure theory videos, we got a bit of an understanding of the world structure and the timeline. But, like, with the new recent information we got from these outfits, plus what the Traveler mentioned about the ship's logs in the quest, the entire timeline for this entire world has been thrown the fuck off. At least the Traveler's timeline, rather than the world's timeline.
For so long now, it feels like a ton of people were trying to convince me that Paimon was a moon sister. I'm so glad we can finally put that to bed.
I mean, it could have been possible, but it wasn't proven at all.
Convince me that Paimon was a moon sister. I'm so glad we can finally put that to bed. And in typical Genshin fashion, they hide some of the biggest lore of this entire patch, not in any voice lines, any characters, but the new outfit. So I'm going to read over the new outfit description to you. It's only like 3 minutes long, but it's very important. And then we're going to break down this entire thing. If you've already read the description or don't care to hear it, I'll leave a timestamp in the comments you can skip to. With that out of the way, let me take a deep breath and let's begin.
It had journeyed through countless worlds and endless distances, surveying every kind of terrain.
Somebody else read this voice like, you think you slick, nigga? Anyway, I need to say this too before the voice lines even finish. I did not register that the description for the outfit mentioned a entity removing a module from their body, right, or from their computing system, right. I didn't notice it off rip because I was just skim reading through it, so I didn't notice it. And I was wondering, where are people getting this AI, though the Heavenly Principles is an AI theory from, right? Where are they getting this confirmation from? I'm trying to understand. I'm not understanding it. But then I reread the entire thing from start to finish. I was like, oh, okay, I see. I was completely off base.
It had journeyed through countless worlds and endless distances, surveying every kind of terrain and gazing upon skies tinted in different colors. This might sound romantic, but in reality, the matter was closer to torture than adventure. It was also once pictured a scene like this. Twins standing under the radiant night sky, their eyes shining as they watched the stars and the many moons above. But it immediately disconnected its idea association module. A sky with such colors only meant that the atmosphere was unfit for life. After witnessing such vistas hundreds of times, there was no longer any need to be moved by them. It did not wake the slumbering twin travelers. Instead, it carried the weight of an exile and a journey so long that numbers had lost their meaning.
Yeah, when I read that exile part, that's the part I snatched to be like, oh, this exile must be the Heavenly Principles, who also was on the ship alongside the Traveling Twins, right? I didn't register the whole AI portion before the exile mention.
travelers. Instead, it carried the weight of an exile and a journey so long that numbers had lost their meaning. The fine details of the lithosphere, atmosphere, or biosphere ultimately mattered little. I don't know if it's lithosphere. Lithosphere. Reshaping terrain, adjusting the air, rebuilding an ecosystem. These were simple tasks for a pioneer vessel, meant to bear the spark of civilization. A star's position, its distance, or its lifespan might pose a minor challenge, yet even those had solutions.
You know what's so crazy? Now I'm starting to think about it. Is the traveling twins from the same civilization that came and attacked Skirk's homeworld? Right? Potentially, this could be the case. Right? Because they had more advanced technology. They had spaceships as well. So it wouldn't be surprised if they're from the same civilization as that. Because the fact that that civilization felt threatened by this group of people on this planet that aren't even technologically advanced enough to even travel the stars to another world, right? The fact that they felt so threatened by these people and wiped them out was like, yo, we gotta wipe these niggas out. They're a threat to us. Boom, right? That has to stem from paranoia, because of the fact that their own civilization is on the verge of collapse or verge of being destroyed by something else that they fear that's far greater, which sparks and brings in forth Iron Tomb and the freaking Lord Ravagers and the freaking Aeon of Destruction, nigga. My bad, I just wanted to mention that because like that's the only thing that makes sense for why the traveling twins are carrying the spark of civilization with them, and potentially why another civilization felt threatened by other life forms that they had to wipe them out because of potential danger that it could pose to their civilization. Granted, there's no true confirmation that the traveling twins are from the same civilization that destroyed Skirk's homeworld and her people. It's just something I wanted to mention because I feel like it could be possible, right? It could be because, you know, act of desperation. Granted, this feels more so in line with the Honkai Impact Third theory of like, oh, the Ark being sent out into space to find another civilized planet that's worth terraforming so that human life can continue to exist, right? Because that theory has been a theory for so many years, but because of the fact that Genshin Impact has never, you know, mentioned a spaceship until recently, only now is that theory coming back into play now in full force. Because before it was like there was no spaceship showing at all. They were just with wings. So clearly there can't be a spaceship. And then they revealed the spaceship. It's like, oh shit, we bringing back Impact Third's theory.
The true difficulty lay in finding a world with potential. Without that, destruction would catch up all too soon.
If anything, it seems like Genshin Impact's world does not exist in Star Rail's universe, but Genshin Impact world seems to exist in the universe of Impact Third.
It was a trivial matter in the span of a long voyage. The planet they passed was never a destination, since its star had already entered its twilight. Its biosphere and atmosphere had been utterly destroyed. The surface held nothing but cooled masses of molten rock. A supernova had caused the devastation. For several weeks or months, intense heat and light had marked the star's final brilliance. After that, it had been reduced to a cold, dim dwarf. It ran a quick calculation on when the event had occurred. What a coincidence. The radiation trapped in the planet's crust indicated that the supernova had erupted the very year the twins were born. Naturally, the two events had nothing to do with each other. No one would ever celebrate their birth by burying an entire world with it. Such levels of extravagance and cruelty simply did not exist. Interstellar travel was dangerous, after all. A supernova 5 or 6 light years away could damage the genetic vault, and perhaps the twins as well. It immediately modified the garments in the wardrobe, upgrading them with materials better suited for interstellar travel, and laid them over the stasis pods. The gesture might not amount to much, but it offered a quiet kind of comfort. Within their slumber, the twins were granted new refuge, and so it continued its journey across countless lands and stones, numberless atmospheres and skies.
Lithosphere. She's gonna kick my ass for making fun of her on that one. God knows I'm not one to talk, but just from that description of the new outfit we got, that's literally called As Heaven and Earth Are Made Anew. Made anew. Then the traveler states, I read the spaceship's flight logs. I always assumed that this was the first time in Teyvat, so did we. I thought that Ether and I must have been hibernating in the ship for centuries on end, because as we know, our Abyss sibling arrived in Conria before we did. But earlier in the Nodcry quest, it made no sense when Columbina showed us the spaceship with moss on it and everything, and the Traveler's twin was already outside the ship without it moving or being opened. Obviously that doesn't make any sense, it never did. And from the start of this game, when we first ever encountered our Abyss twin back in Mondstadt, like 1.6 or 1.5, I don't even remember. It's like 5 years ago. I didn't even have kids. We knew things were weird. Something wasn't adding up.
Oh, you're a father? If that's the implication you're making, that you're a dad now. I clap my hands to you. Amen.
And then she would follow by stating that the logs show that our spaceship flew over the skies of Teyvat once before. Unspecified, but a long time ago. And just from the description we just read, we know this thing's...
Excuse me, I'm sick.
Been flying around for a long time. Higher than numbers go, as it describes. Basically stopped counting. Columbina asks, so we flew over, we didn't land. It states that the ship barely came to a stop before flying on again, but it did barely come to a stop. But most of the data is corrupted, of course. Can't go telling us too much now, can you? Then we state, our Abyss sibling must have found me. If he came from outside the ship, could this mean he left the ship long before I did? Maybe even during our first pass over Teyvat. But if that's the case, what does that all mean? That's where this description comes into play. It talks about having this advanced technology that can terraform worlds. It calls it very trivial and easy. Changing the ecosystem, the air, everything about a planet. And from the sounds of this description, this has happened probably many times. I can't say for sure, but it sort of sounds like the travelers come from a planet that was destroyed. It's long gone. Whether there is humans there or whatever might have been there, we don't know. But this spaceship has the capacity to terraform a world, or the technology to do so. At least it did during the time of their travels. To be honest, their backstory's kinda sounding like Superman now. Planets being destroyed, get shoved in a pod, and then just shipped off into space.
True.
Just to figure it out for yourself. And when we started playing this game, we didn't know about the dragons, we didn't know about the moons. There's so much we did not know. I mean, for God's sakes, back in the original days of playing this game, back in 2020, we barely knew about the shades. I remember getting in arguments with people that the artifacts represent the shades, and that there were angels in Teyvat. Like, that was the argument back then, and now here we are. But the point is, now we know, especially talking to the Moon Sister.
And that's what's so good about Genshin Impact's lore and their writing as well. Is the story presented in like the most craziest way possible, so the most immersive, enjoyable way? Not all the time, right? But when it does good, it does good. And it's like, bro, right now we are having a writing quality drop in Withering Waves right now. It is so bad, it's crazy. It's so bad you don't even want to play the damn thing. Whereas Genshin Impact's quality, we legitimately with Natlan, of course, the dip in writing quality happened. We all can recognize that. For certain characters not being fleshed out, other characters being fleshed out, and certain writing decisions for a character's personality, in particular, Mavwika and her whole thing being like all over the fucking place, or what they were trying to convey with her, right? We had a dip in writing quality. Then writing quality shot the F up with Nardcry, especially when they started putting the lore into play. Like, oh my gosh, it's oozing, it's juicy content right now, and I'm loving it. Like, theories niggas made so many years ago, getting checked off the list right now. Check. And niggas are just eating up the content. It's juicy. I love to see it.
Sisters with Columbina that Nibelung created the three Moon Sisters looking to the Moon Sisters with Columbina. But the point is, now we know, especially talking to the Moon Sisters with Columbina, that Nibelung created the three Moon Sisters to watch and govern Teyvat. Control over the very aspects of Teyvat the same way the Four Shades do. Almost identically, actually, since we saw Il Tutore actually demonstrate this. Nibelung did this so that he could travel to distant far lands in the cosmos. We also know that dragonkind within Teyvat was incredibly technological and advanced. They also built spaceships, advanced mechs, harnessed the powers of the light realm and phlogiston. And they also traveled to distant worlds. But Teyvat was a very specific ecosystem catered to dragon and dragonkind. What we learned in Natlan through the world quests, the main meat and potatoes that was to take away from it was that once the Primordial One came to Teyvat and changed Teyvat for good, dragons struggled to survive here. They weren't wiped out or killed, but they could barely survive the ecosystem changes.
Which is why they evolved into becoming the Saurians, the Pokemon-esque beings of the region.
The air, the land, even in the Book of Lithin, it's described as somewhat toxic to them. They were relegated to living in Enkanomiya, the volcano, the outskirts, or in some cases had to adapt to survive. And eventually they even mingled with humanity and had offspring together, having half human, half dragons, like Ochk and Natlin. Why this?
Or in Enkanomiya with that limited time event that we had that lasted like a good lengthy amount of time in Enkanomiya, where we met that NPC who was revealed to be part human and part dragon kin, right? I don't remember her name, but she had the eyes of a dragon, right? And that's the reason why she covered her face.
Why this is important is because it talks.
You know what's so crazy? She said she was gonna spin the block on us in the future. I'm waiting for that to happen. She need to come back.
About how the technology in this spaceship can terraform a land, change all these things. Things that we know for a fact changed once Nibelung left Teyvat and the Primordial One came. The Moon Sisters then talk about the Primordial One, or the First Descender. Are the Primordial One and the First Descender one and the same? Maybe, maybe not. Even Columbina's like, oh, the Heavenly Principles? And the Moon Sister canon jokes like, oh, is that what later generations call them? We did not reject them at first, nor did they seem to harbor ill intent towards this world. We coexisted in peace. They were like guests in our home. That is exactly how the Primordial One was described, even going all the way back in Enkanomiya. Slowly, however, we came to realize that our guest had been growing a desire to change and dominate the world. Change and dominate the world. Terraform. That's what it sounds like to me. Columbina asking the only sensible question, why didn't you tell them to kick rocks? They wanted to know if this new order would bode good or ill for Teyvat. And later, they discovered that this great ruler of the Firmament bore an almost paranoid hostility towards the desire of certain life forms to seek power, or perhaps they feared them. Then it goes on.
And that kind of goes in line with like agnostic Christianity, right? Because like it's the idea of like, oh, there's a false god that had created human life, right? But the true God, Jesus Christ, is the one that helps humanity break from the shackles of this false god that created them, which is the demiurge, so that humanity can reach true enlightenment in heaven, in the true realm that they're supposed to reach, which is why they obtain a gnosis, right? Because the demiurge doesn't want humans to surpass them, because they believe that they are the superior one. And if their creation can surpass them, that means they're not superior, because they want to flex and prove how better they are in comparison to the true God, which is one of the reasons I think they got kicked out of the spiritual realm and got thrown into the material world where they created humanity, right? It really does lean on that right now, in Genshin Impact's like lore and world framing and world building. My bad. And also, the artifact set that also revealed the paranoia of the Heavenly Principles, the one that Wanderer uses, it was just like, man, this paranoia is crazy. It's like, what are you paranoid about? And then now, with the release of the 6.3 Archon Quest, it reveals to us that, yo, this paranoia was because they feared certain life forms obtaining greater power or seeking to obtain power. And what exactly are those life forms in question are they referring to? Is it humans? Is it non-humans? Is it dragons? What life form seeks to obtain power? I mean, unless the life form in question was Nibelung that they were afraid of, or like someone like Skirk. Skirk seeks power as well. She obtained the power of the abyss, right? So it's like, if it's individuals like those who seek the power of the abyss, which maybe this AI that is the Heavenly Principle / the First Descender probably recognizes that the abyss is a deadly force, which they have been running from, which is why they've traveled to different worlds across space to try to find a suitable place for humankind to exist on and terraform the planet, right? It would make sense why they view certain life forms as hostile, because they're trying to obtain seek greater power, which could come from the abyss, which they are afraid of, potentially.
To seek power, or perhaps they feared them. Then it goes on to say that they would cast down the celestial nails as manifestations of their power and punishment to civilizations that did not obey. Man, I'm telling you this.
And seeing as how having the moon marrows allowed for Dotori to create these cubical pillars, I wouldn't be surprised if the Heavenly Principles also could have done the same thing without the moon marrows and with their own power. But then how does that look like? I need to know how that looks like. So if we are running on the assumption that the Heavenly Principles is an AI like Intellitron construct equivalent to Star Rail and Zenless, right? How exactly do they manifest these pillars? How exactly do they create them and just drop them down? I need to know how that looks like.
This whole saga here where the angels describe this is like a love letter to me. Music to my ears. But are we the primordial one? No, I don't think so. So now let's break this all down. Let's go with the easiest, most cop-out solution first. This will take 2 seconds. It's all a misunderstanding, even the Traveler hinting towards our Abyss sibling getting off and that original bypass of Teyvat. We never landed here, we only came during the Conria saga, and everything is as we already expected with just a little bit of nuance. We originally just flew away and never stopped. That's one way you could look at this, and sure, fine. But now everything that we know, here's what I think. Nor did I have on my bingo card. Our Abyss twin, whoever you did not select, did get off on that original bypass of Teyvat. How? I don't know. I don't know. They're aliens with an alien ship. Maybe they can kind of beam.
And they also can fly. Though Travelers have wings, so they could have just gotten off the ship and just flew down to Teyvat, right?
Down like a typical alien ship can. I don't know how our twin would have got off. Really, I don't think it's important. And whatever this technology they had, they implemented into Teyvat. They were trying to start a civilization, like the many civilizations in the flight's log in the new description. But for some reason with this world of Teyvat, it worked. It was compatible, and they were able to terraform the land without slaughtering the dragons completely. And if you think about it, it's not really conquest if you're trying to share a world with the dragons. Although to them, you ruined the ecosystem and took over, you're the usurper. So after that happens, our Abyss twin has a good relationship with the moon goddesses that are watching over Teyvat while Nibelung is gone, and this is where they implement the heavenly principles, the primordial one, this really advanced AI, ecosystem-changing technology. You've probably heard me preach about how Teyvat is very simulation-like, very computer-coded-like.
Yeah, and now, after the conclusion of the Amphoria's chapter of Star Rail, it makes Genshin Impact's world look even more sus.
Everyone's fates within the false sky, the waypoints match up with actual characters' constellations.
I remember all this.
Fates, people's memories recorded into Irminsul like it's a giant computer memory block. This world functions a bit obscure, but if somebody implemented this advanced alien technology as to function like an AI terraforming program to protect, control, but also program to help civilization thrive, it kind of makes sense. And if you look at the Heavenly Principles' behavior, it functions like an AI. It's implemented like a computer that has a protocol and something triggers it. A very strict set of rules that keeps Teyvat both safe but a prison nonetheless. And this has been described in the game as well. An eggshell prison world. What is the point of finding a compatible world that you can finally terraform if you can't protect it after? Compatible world.
I remember doing this. I went into my own teapot and I had Nuvolette there. And when I spoke with him, I was like, yeah, these lines are crazy. Let's read this. If you cannot break free from the eggshell, the world is not but a prison where you are blinded and confined.
World that you can finally terraform if you can't protect it after. Think of Iron Man.
Don't be afraid of bleak dissolution and poverty outside the prison. And don't fret about your stable rations being cut off once the prison is destroyed.
And in Avengers Age of Ultron, that's the best example that I think most people will understand. Tony wants to create a suit of armor around the world, an AI program known as Ultron, but it backfires. And by extension, this AI Primordial One Heavenly Principles program, whatever you want to call it, created the four shades to mimic the three moon goddesses and their authority. The four shades and then all the other angels that come after them all wear crowns like Nicole we saw in her real form. The crowns have been stated endless times in this game to represent shackles because they are bound by these rules in this program.
Really? I didn't know that. That's new information to me.
They're all part of it. And who knows, maybe Irminsul is part of the terraforming program, I don't actually know, but it would make sense. But if that's the case, then how did this Heavenly Principles go from benevolent to, well, the Heavenly Principles we know today? Well, I think the system was corrupted, and I think it's been damaged but also compromised. Whether it was self-intentional or an accident. That so-called it, read to you in the description my wife read earlier in the video, refers to some kind of artificial sentience of the ship, what we're talking about here. Wouldn't it make sense if that was Paimon? I mean, the word AI is in Paimon. You can even spell Paimon from the word Primordial One.
I did not know that. That's crazy. There's some crazy crossword puzzling going on right now. Some crazy shuffleboard.
And funny enough, Paimon...
This is also something that's always been weird about Paimon, is that her name is legitimately a fucking acronym. Every time we got mail, Paimon's name would be spelled in the acronym, right? Honestly, the whole spaceship and advanced technology of like alien spaceship and stuff, honestly, people expected to come across this stuff in Sumeru, thanks to all this advanced technology we were finding in the desert. Because like it kind of lines up with modern day like conspiracy of like aliens helping build the pyramids and whatnot, and advanced technology of aliens being left in the desert somewhere, right? So like people assumed that we were going to find that in Sumeru, only to find out that that's not where we found it at. We found it in freaking Nodcry. It's crazy.
Paimon is an acronym for Primordial Autopilot Intelligence Managing Onboard Navigation. You can't make...
Which is crazy when you think about it, when Paimon legitimately says that she is like the best companion or best guide in the tour guide in the world, something along that.
Make this stuff up.
Something along those lines. My bad. I'm sick and my fucking mouth ain't talking the way I want to talk.
Coincidence? I think not.
I actually kind of made a video about this already, and I mean, I get enough theories wrong, so if I'm going to take a W, I'm going to take it, okay? Paimon resembles all of the four shades in some aspects.
Yes.
The symbolisms that the original humans scribed down in their artoglyphs. You can see Paimon's design over the statue of the Seven, all throughout Celestia, like she is celestial. Wouldn't it make sense that she would be the embodiment of this AI program, but maybe cast away? So now the Heavenly Principles is just running on pure program principles. It would be like taking Sandrone and taking her...
Right? And it's like, my bad, I need to mention this again. This is a bit back to the comparison between Weather and Waves and Genshin Impact, right? I made a video I did reacting to Vincent. Like, he mentioned the whole thing about Abby and their lore not being touched upon in the story, despite the fact the story mentioning it, right? This is an example of Genshin, of a story touching on their story of, especially of a character that will be revealed in the future to be something grander than what they initially are, without even talking about it, right? The symbolisms that are legitly on this character's clothing, from the crown to the hairpin to the outfit design and so on. There is so much to speculate about Paimon's character based on these things. Withering Waves does not do this at all for Abby, and it sucks. It's a sad thing to see.
Her personality away, so it's just a lifeless robot running calculations, just running through the programs. I think that's what Paimon was supposed to be through this program, but somehow it got messed up. Whether that's through the Abyss, Nibelung returning, maybe our Abyss sibling compromised it themselves because they felt guilty, or maybe the heavenly principles viewed us as a threat. Again, the whole concept of an out-of-control AI that gets self-aware and takes over, becoming obsessed and paranoid of humanity's potential and curiosity.
Similar to the self-extrapolation process of Anthorius in Star Rail. Thank God he mentioned that.
Trying to protect the borders, maintain the world, but has gained enough sentience through the Four Shades that it must uphold its program at all cost. And for those of you that are still coping that the travelers came to Teyvat around the same time, the new outfits again kind of debunks this, and it's perfectly lore accurate depending on who you pick as your main MC. If you picked Aether as your main character, his new outfit resembles Lumine's original outfit. But if you pick Lumine, then she will get a new outfit that resembles Aether's old outfit. So no matter who you pick, it's canon. One of the travelers is wearing a very old outfit, because the current traveler, the one that woke up 500 years before the game started, gets a new outfit that matches the Abyss twins. Our Abyss twin got off the spaceship a long time ago. But what about humanity? Why are they so scared? Because humans, no matter what kind of barrier, cage, restraints you put on them, they will break out of it.
I think the answer to this question was already mentioned earlier. Granted, he probably already going to say it. But, like, the fact that the Heavenly Principles became paranoid of being seeking power, they probably labeled humanity underneath that same banner and label to be like, oh my god, I can't let these niggas do that too. Right? I can't let these niggas get this power, get this world-shattering power. I can't. But unfortunately for the Heavenly Principles, it's already happened. We got the five centers of Conria already got their hands on world-shattering power.
No matter what, they will do anything to do that. Look at Conria, the Doctor. Even the original humans were questioning things, and they were met with harsh celestial nails. At the end of the day, like I said, there's no point in terraforming a world if you can't maintain and protect it after. But from what? Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves, because that's kind of the last point of this video. So the Nibelung returns, brings the Abyss, it compromises this program. You got Descenders battling the War of Funerary Flame, the Angels get pretty much annihilated. They're part of this program too, they get punished. The Shades are as well, but they're scared, it's their creator. And humanity gets wiped out, any traces of the first attempt. Then bring in the Age of the Seven and the Archon War to initiate the New World Order. But angels slip through the cracks. King Deshret learns the secrets of this, challenges Celestia, refuses a Gnosis. He will not be a puppet to some program. Learning the truth, how could you? He dies for this. Same with Nabu, the goddess of flowers, and Ruka Devada has to take control then, to act as the avatar of Irminsul, to keep humanity alive. And that's pretty much where we find ourselves in Teyvat now, and Paimon being discarded for whatever reason. How ironic that she should find herself traveling with us of all people. It seems that we're bonded closer than she might have thought. As for Conria, if you lived in a world like this, wouldn't you do the same? They found a way outside this world. Technology, the art of chemia and alchemy, even legit outlanders and outsiders to defy this world. The five sinners are the pinnacle of that. And along the way, people realized, if you are in a world like this, where the actual pinnacle god that controls over all is an advanced terraforming AI program, you kinda gotta play the game. That's what the Fatui Harbingers are doing. That's what the five sinners did. Look at Rhindaughter. She has taken control over the aspect of life. Why wouldn't the Heavenly Principles just immediately, if it was a physical person or being, eradicate her immediately? You gotta work outside the scope of the parameters. That's Nicole's whole shtick, and why we had Minnie Durin and the Hegson Circle. It's all about fate, the unwritten parts with the magic ink.
Yeah, it's essentially just finding the blank spaces in the code and filling them bitches out and connecting them to the main source of code. Basically. That's basically what all these niggas are doing to defy this quote-unquote fate. This fate-weaving machine. This machine that dictates people's fate. That's basically what all this is. Finding the gaps in the code to insert it insert what you want into it to influence the outcome. The outcome is still as it was prophesized to be, but it just isn't executed in the way you thought it was going to be executed in.
Metaphorically, working outside the parameters of this program. That's how certain things in Teyvat can be manipulated and changed, like the Doctor did to get the moon fragments and, well, gain the moon's authority. Why would the Heavenly Principles not react to this? React to a moon now being in the false sky? Probably because they're offline right now. Maybe deliberately, till the time is right. Maybe accidentally. Maybe just damaged from the abyss after Conria. But you cannot deny that this all makes sense. The behavior's everything. If the Heavenly Principles was like a physical being that had these strict rules and punishments, you would think they would dish them out in person, be seen. But nobody's ever seen the Heavenly Principles. Nobody. Nobody can describe them. The only thing we've seen is the Four Shades. And the behavior of the Heavenly Principles, the way they dish out punishments, is super obscure for a living being that presents itself in the flesh. Like prophecies in Fontaine that take many years to come to fruition. Or Obashi reading the book before Sun and Moon in Enkanomiya but then being sentenced to death years later. Why go about it in such a roundabout way? But again, if you view the Heavenly Principles as some form of advanced alien AI, it doesn't seem that...
Honestly, that sounds like the Heavenly Principles is running on 230 ping rather than 45 ping, which is why it takes so long for those prophecies to be dished out.
You view the Heavenly Principles as some form of advanced alien AI, it doesn't seem that strange their behavior, because it's just triggered rules. And that's sort of why people that defy this world aren't really that scared, once they figure out how to work outside the parameters like the Doctor, because they know there's not going to be some big, crazy deity that comes flying out of Celestia with a sword in hand, slaying them for betraying the principles and not following the rules.
True. I mean, if it was the case, we would have seen the Heavenly Principles off rip in fucking Mondstadt. Honestly. Knowing that the Abyss Order had a hand in manipulating the dragon on his Durin, honestly, if the Heavenly Principles was an actual person, they would have came down there and be like, what the hell are you doing, dragon? Boom. Slayed it immediately. Put that nigga in the dirt. Off rip. A god from the Archon War is sitting here causing havoc to Leeway Harbor? Let me handle that too. Boom. I can't really speak about Inazuma, honestly. I mean, except for the Orobashi reading the Book of Sun and Moon, nigga would got clapped personally. They wouldn't have got sent the freaking Electro Archon to handle that nigga, honestly. Sumeru being tainted by the Abyss, you better believe so many, granted, a Celestial Nail was already dropped, right? So there's that. And also, we know that there was a dragon in Sumeru as well that was tainted by the Abyss. So, nail, dragon there, we probably got 2 nails for that nigga. Rinse and repeat for every other location. Shoot, the Narwhal attacking freaking Fontaine. The freaking Heavenly Principles would have dove in from the top rope, diving into the depths of the primordial sea and slayed that thing itself if it was an actual living person and not a freaking robot.
If they work outside the code, then they're fine. Or at least they should be. Really, the Four Shades is what you have to be worried about, since they're the ones that physically go around to uphold these principles. Certain people, certain organizations within Teyvat have found a way to work outside the parameters, and that's why we're seeing now chess pieces moving on the board, all trying to seize control. And if you think about it, why was it one of the Four Shades at the beginning of the game that stops us dead in our tracks, not the Heavenly Principles themselves? The Shade of Space is referred to as the sustainer of Heavenly Principles, that control over the most fundamental aspects of this entire
Also, so interesting, because I think something,
Heavenly Principles.
Right, here we go. Right, knowing that there is a genetic vault on the Traveler spaceship, and also that this AI used said genetic vault to terraform the world and put life on it. Isn't it very interesting that I guess a DNA sample from the vault was used to create one of their four shades, and they come out looking like Kiana Keslana from Impact Third, right? It's like this is clearly a clone of Kiana Keslana from Impact Third, and especially from her Hersher of the Void form, right? Like damn near these two look exactly the same if you search up a picture, right? And people made that comparison all of them years ago. And I think the comparison is still valid. Now knowing this context with the spaceship, this shit feels even closer together. That Genshin Impact is legitimately in the Impact Third universe, just somewhere in a different part of space or in the universe.
Principles that control over the most fundamental aspects of this entire experiment and transformation to uphold this new world created by this new technology from the spaceship. And this paranoid fear that the Moon Sisters talk about is just that. The fear that humanity will break through the parameters. Humanity cannot be left to govern themselves because, as we've seen, they cannot be trusted with this kind of power. In order to protect this new world created by this new technology, it must be governed strictly. And anyone that
and it's kind of similar to Raiden Shogun's puppet, right? The Raiden Shogun puppet was designed to resist erosion. And so once A started exhibiting signs that, from what its point of view, signs of quote unquote erosion, because she was changing her mind on what her form of eternity should look like, it started fighting against A and restricting her, right? You can say this as an act of punishment against her. It wasn't until A fought her robotic clone that had a set amount of rules placed on them that they have to follow and abide and enforce, did the AI robots, known as the Raiden Shogun, heed to the will of A, the Electro Archon, and changed its trajectory to what she wanted. And essentially, honestly, now as I'm speaking about it, it seems like that's what's going to happen in the overarching story. Because, like, as Dainsleif put it, right? Dainsleif said, yo, fight me and command me to step aside if you want to save her, so that all of fate will be yours to reweave. That's essentially what we're going to be experiencing. Like, honestly, looking back at it retrospectively, A's second story quest revealed to us how exactly the rest of the story is going to go down for the Traveler, blatantly. If you take my point of view that I just mentioned into account.
Refuses to live quiet, ignorant lives will be punished and removed.
Who are you? The sustainer of heavenly principles. The arrogation of mankind ends now.
Outlanders do not belong in this world.
Yet buried in the depths of this world lies smoldering remains, a warning to those that dare trespass. That throne in the sky is not reserved for you. But mortal arrogation never stops. In the perpetual meantime of a sheltered eternity, most are content to live and not to dream. But in the hidden corners where the gods' gaze does not fall, there are those who dream of dreaming. But I say we humans have our humanity. We will defy this world with a power from beyond.
Even after terraforming Teyvat, why can't humanity just be trusted to make or break themselves, live themselves, govern themselves, with no gods, no higher authority? If they die, they die. Well, that's because...
Oh, well, I'm going to answer this question before he does. I think the reason is, if we take the theory that Genshin Impact's world exists in the Impact Third universe, thanks to the manga panels that we saw from that one manga from Impact Third all them years ago, right? If we take it as face value, and we take it as the now knowing that this AI more than likely had piloted the ship while the twins were asleep throughout most of their journey, or a good portion of their journey, more than likely this AI has already been downloaded with this information of what happened on Earth related to the Impact Third story, right? And how they were constantly being attacked by the I forgot what the fucking creatures are called in Impact Third. The creatures that seek to destroy human civilization, right? They probably already witnessed it, and they probably already witnessed humans obtaining this power and going crazy and like attacking fellow humans that were trying to survive against such a threat, aka the Hershers, right? So in its mind, it's like, after witnessing that, again, this is just my hypothetical, after witnessing that and having the records of it, rather, downloaded into their, hardware or whatever, in their database, they're probably thinking to themselves, yo, I've seen what happens when humans strive to seek greater power. They become that. I cannot let that happen here. After all this hard work that I have been designed for, to find humanity a new world to continue existing on without this type of threat being here. So I must ensure that I must keep everything locked down with lock and key to prevent such a thing. If there's any type of mention of something like that happening in this world, I'm going to notice it and I'm going to immediately stop it, aka drop the celestial nails, prevent it from happening. Which is why it's so interesting that the celestial nails legitly can absorb the abyssal corruption and purify it, right? Or not purify it, but just absorb it. Because I don't think it's purifying it. I think it's just absorbing that shit. As we saw in the Chasm, and as we saw in Nahida's second story quest.
Because of the fear of the unknown, what's out there. The whole reason this would be implemented in the first place. The biggest one is obviously the Abyss. Nibelung returned with the Abyss. Now, since we know he left before the Heavenly Principles got here, he did not go get the Abyss willingly. And that's actually a theory I got wrong. I thought he did it out of revenge and spite, but it was accidental, it seems. Like he was not trying to be contaminated. So just with the threat of the Abyss alone, the Heavenly Principles and their strict rules in the False Sky is justified. Would you rather live in Teyvat safe if it meant you can't obtain godhood but you won't get killed by the outside threats? Maybe you would consider that. I
do consider it, which is why I say the Heavenly Principles are kind of justified. Especially if we were to assume that Genshin Impact existed in the universe of Star Rail, it's even more justified. Nigga, do you see them freaking Lord Ravagers? They are a problem. They're the size of planets. What?
If you were Skirk growing up with your mother and father, would you trade the past you had for a quiet life with your family somewhere in Mondstadt or Liyue? If it meant you had to live quiet, ignorant lives and not try to obtain godhood or forbidden knowledge, just remain content within this protected world, maybe you would. Skirk is living proof that there are great threats out there that will kill everyone on your home planet.
Just based on an assumption that you may be a threat to them.
Sertology alone is kind of a juggernaut now. The all-devouring narwhal is not from Teyvat either. And if you're hearing the song that's playing right now, you hear this approaching Teyvat, your planet is already cooked. The swarm shows up.
Yep, there we go.
Some of the Genius Society. There is essentially infinite threats out there, worth safeguarding and protecting from. Even the Hexen Circle witches, who are still mysterious to us, prioritize protecting Teyvat's borders. And what I gather from everything we've talked about, the Hexen Circle's motives, as well as the Fatui Harbingers, the Heavenly Principles is not something that you can dismiss, dismantle, turn off, or discard without having some kind of backup plan. Something to replace it. Since these threats and the Abyss is not just gonna stop. Then there's the big bad. Something people do not like to talk about. The ultimate destroyer of civilization within the Hoyoverse. The Honkai.
There we go. I forgot what it was called. It was called the Honkai. I'm so stupid.
Ultimate destroyer of civilization within the Hoyoverse. Yeah, you never see that word talked about in Genshin Impact. That's on purpose. Not yet. Remember, Genshin Impact exists within the other games. There's a glider, for God's sakes, on Herta's spaceship. The Honkai is a phenomenon that acts to purge any advanced civilization. in the form of many things: disasters, calamity, the abyss, monsters, anything that can wipe out civilization that is advanced. It's like the universe's own self-regulation system, rooted from the imaginary tree in the Sea of Quanta, where the multiverse of the Hoyoverse starts. This takes me all the way back to a theory I had probably during the Fontaine saga now, right before Natlan, I know that. Everything we've seen in Teyvat and everything I've talked about in this video, if you are trying to hide from the Honkai, Teyvat is the perfect little planet that has found a way to do so. With this technology and this system, call it a prison, call it a safe haven, but what Teyvat really is subjective, because the word Teyvat in Hebrew stands for ark. It's an ark planet. What it really is survival of the threats out there. Don't even get me started on the Eons. By the way, Sandrone, the unsung hero of this chapter, man, this character has grown on me. I hope she returns. I bet she does. She's an android. I think she can be rebuilt. Where the hell are we going to get that kind of sass again? She's over here solving the world formula, borderline solving the imaginary tree theory. She's over here trying to become the next Genius Society member. The Marionette Genius Society member number 85. I like it. I know some people don't like this, but the next logical step for this game is outside Teyvat. They're already exploring this now, where God's sakes, we're looking at Teyvat from the moon. Could you imagine?
Yeah, ever since I would say Fontaine till now, we have been pushing towards the outside of Teyvat and its fucking firmament. We've been pushing towards outer space ever since Fontaine, for crying out loud. Anybody who's upset about that, sorry, but like, this game already proved that we gone from fantasy to we're going to sci-fi, and it's not even some jarring type of like a transition. It's actually a pretty smooth transition. We're not just getting slapped right into it. We're having a smooth transition into it, so it doesn't feel crazy or feel off.
Imagine doing this 2 years ago? I've been playing this game since the game came out. The day it came out, I had no
Same, brother.
idea what was going on. But you have to admit,
I assumed Genshin's world was purely a fantasy world, just like isekai story. Which reminds me, I have a personal take that I'm gonna give right here. I know this reaction is pretty lengthy, so forgive me, but I have a personal take on isekai that I really like the idea of, and Genshin Impact kind of like embodies my take, right? Isekai is about going to another world or being sent to another world in some way, shape, or form, right? That's the whole point of an isekai, right? Genshin Impact is like the version of isekai that I want seen in like to be shown in like this mainstream isekai, genre, or at least that niche, right? Of the whole, oh, well, it's a fantasy world, yeah, sure, because it has fantasy elements, but you could go travel to another planet within the same solar system, or in the solar system, like a couple light years away from here, and you're gonna find another fantasy-esque world that's completely different from the last one, and you can just planet hop from solar systems, checking out all these planets, right? I mean, like isekai does stand for another world, but like, could that not be shown in like a different way than just being teleported to a fantasy world or being reincarnated into one? Can't we show that type of story of being sent to another world by traveling via spaceship, planet hopping from world to world to world, right? I feel like that'd be pretty interesting, and honestly, we're only getting that from Genshin Impact right now, as something along the lines of like isekai genre, right? But that's just my 2 cents on that, because I really like the idea, at least my interpretation.
Teyvat from the moon. Could you imagine doing this 2 years ago? I've been playing this game since the game came out. The day it came out, I had no idea what was going on. But you have to admit, this makes sense. Eventually, we are going to have to leave Teyvat if they're going to continue this story after this saga, with Conria, the Heavenly Principles, and the truth of this world. And if you're skeptical still and you're still thinking, man, they're not going to reveal all this quickly, we're only a non-cry. What do you mean only? It's been like 5 years. This has not been quick at all. And somebody in my last...
Yeah, it's been a slow build towards this, and honestly, it was necessary. especially when you look at Wuthering Wave's story right now, they've been over here speed running through their shit to the point of now it's like, man, we're speed running through so much shit right now, so much of main story content that is like we don't have a slowdown to build upon these concepts that's being introduced, this lore that's being introduced. We don't have a slow moment so that we can have time to build on these things, and we're just getting slapped with it, and because of it, it's causing the story to cripple and fall, including, of course, with the bad writing and execution of like lore that they've been doing, which hasn't really been the best.
Last video commented and it made me laugh. The whole scene with Sandrone trying to solve that world formula was kind of like a little mini test for everyone that played through the Narcissus and Croynt's chapter in Fontaine. All the world quest, all the books, the lore. Whoever studied that shit and paid attention would have been reveling in that moment. But all of Nodcry,
I enjoyed this moment personally.
the Moon lore, the Moon Sisters, Nibelung, all of this lore that's very relevant and important to Nodcry has been teased for like 3 or 4 years now. Back when we only knew about the Fatui and the day-to-day of the Archons. Everything about the Shades, the Descenders, what the hell's going on, what Celestia is, visions, let alone talking about Moon Sisters that we knew nothing about. Paimon, who is mysterious floating entity, godlike creature, emergency food. How are we supposed to know any of these things? Back then, it was all hidden in deep lore. It was all sprinkled in descriptions, artifact descriptions, glider lore, little snippets here and there, until eventually it all kind of came together. Enkanomiya, the book before Sun and Moon. Things that you had to dig for. It wasn't just presented to you. And that's kind of the same here. They like to present foreshadowing of the future before it happens through descriptions, with vague
And that's mainly because Genshin Impact's story was already written and completed. That's the reason why everything feels fucking golden. Shoot, I wouldn't be surprised if Nodcry's story had already been written before the game even came out. And the only reason they made that live stream being like, oh, we're going to take a deviation from going straight to, Seznaya to going to Nodcry was because they already planned it out, right? And they already had released a teaser, and they wanted Nodcry to feel like a surprise, so that's why they did that. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the reason why, honestly. Because this is a culmination. This is some good writing we're going on right now with Nodcry. And lore reasons, obviously.
details like this, making us put 2 and 2 together. To be honest, I find it crazy that Sandrone's creator Alain and Renee, his rival, just 2 humans in Fontaine, figured out how Teyvat works. Figured out how this AI system controls Teyvat and fate. People's lives are predetermined, and you can read them through the fake stars, as described by Skirk herself. And Mona can read them, because she was taught by Barbara Loth. Humanity is, at the end of the day, truly fascinating, and it's no exaggeration to say that humanity within Teyvat and Genshin Impact is limitless. There is nothing they cannot achieve. Now, we've talked a lot about humanity and why the Heavenly Principles is afraid and paranoid of them and their potential, even going as far as controlling their fates, their futures, and having their stories predetermined already. The stuff that is written. But what about Outlanders? How come they're not allowed to seek refuge here? The obvious answer is because an Outlander can be dangerous, but what about even the docile ones? Ones that just want to start a home here? Well, the main reason there's even a concept of forbidden knowledge, especially when it comes to anything scientific related that comes from outside Teyvat people, what they know of the outside universe, is because it's referred to as a variable. If you're trying to control people within this world, adding people from outside the world that don't abide by the rules and their fates aren't controlled are what is known as variables, which you've probably heard that term a lot lately. Like when Sandrone's trying to solve the world formula. This is what Nicole refers to as the history of the future. But there are things in the hidden corners where the god's gaze does not fall. Metaphorically, Teyvat is a written book. That's why there was such a big emphasis on, well...
I know Ashokai just got done doing a theory, which was about, not that long ago, about Genshin's world being a metaphorical book. and in relation to Durin's story quests and the Torre and what he was doing in Nodcry, right? It was so that he can become the author of his own story, or just the author of the story that is Teyvat. In a similar vein to like Amphorius being a metaphorical book and a literal book.
Well, the Hegson Circle right now, but Mini Durin. Mini Durin was written in a book and brought to life outside of the control.
And also, let's mention this: the fact that Skirk had the ability to fly in the upper atmosphere of Teyvat's world tells me that this chick can legitimately fly across space. Because how the hell did she get to Teyvat without a spaceship? She had to have flown here with her master, like zooming through space.
Control of the heavenly principles. But with this magic ink, was able to fill in the blanks of his story left unwritten by Anders' daughter, his creator. Teyvat is legitimately the same way.
The Raiden Shogun's idea of eternity are the closest to the heavenly principles. In the Archon Quest, it was in the Inazuma Archon Quest, it was all about taking people's visions because they have potential to threaten eternity. It's the same concept, but on a bigger scale. Oh my god, bro, I just mentioned this crap earlier with Raiden Shogun, at least when it came down to her second story quest, and how it parallels to the Traveler having to fight the heavenly principles and take control over it, right? Granted, I was kind of on a different path, but it's kind of similar.
Outsiders pose a variable within this story, and a variable can be catastrophic if you're trying to.
Also, I think I should have mentioned this as well. I think he's not going to mention it. We know that visions are not granted to people by the gods. We know this because Raiden Shogun doesn't even know how visions are even given to people. Right? The only time we've seen a vision be given to somebody is Nouvelette. Nouvelette, a dragon with the authority of the dragons, with his Hydro Dragon authority now in his possession, he gave Farina a vision in her story quest. He imparted his power to her, right? So if we were to assume that the other dragon sovereigns of the other elements in some way, shape, or form can still bestow their power, a part of their power, to humanity, they have to be able to do it via visions. Because we know that Celestia and the Archons don't give people visions. It's not them who do it. Because they don't even know how the process works. At least from Raiden Shogun's POV, she doesn't understand how that process works.
A variable within this story, and a variable can be catastrophic if you're trying to maintain the status quo. That is why both humanity and outsiders are the two big boogeymans of the heavenly principles. And that is pretty much my theory on who the travelers actually are. That our Abyss twin is the first descender they descended on our first bypass of Teyvat. And we are the fourth descender that descended much, much later, during the events in Conria. And the reason our Abyss twin came from outside the ship is because, well, they were already here, with their memories wiped, already acting in defiance to the heavenly principles. That's my theory, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Plan B for me, and something I still think's gonna happen in this game, at least in some way, shape, or form, is Kevin Castellana, a variant of Kevin.
Oh my god, me and you are the same thought, twin. Oh my goodness. Personally, I was of the opinion that the Heavenly Principles is Kevin Castellana / Finon was the Heavenly Principles, right? Because we know that this nigga Finon started becoming more and more paranoid as time went on, and he was lost more and more in his madness as he kept trying to defy the or stop the extrapolations from continuing to the next phase by causing it to restart over and over and over again, right? That's my reason why I deemed him as the Heavenly Principles personally.
Kevin is behind everything. I have to believe some form of Kevin Castellana is going to show up in Genshin Impact. I mean, there's no way they don't have the most notorious Hoyoverse character show up at some point. I mean, since we know we're going to get another variant of Bronya as the Tsaritsa. For my last closing remarks, everything that I've stated in this video, I kept wondering why. Why do we have to go on this journey to learn the truth? It seems like even all the way back in Liyue, Rex Lapis kinda knew things he could tell us but refused to do so. The Archons and Shades are reluctant, and even the Doctor himself said that he could cut our journey short if we work with him and tell us everything we want to know. So why is our Abyss twin, and why is this game making us go through the motions? All these world and side quests, character quests, and stories, playing little games and events, celebrating Windbloom in Mondstadt, the Lantern Rite Festival in Liyue. Why must we do all these trivial things for years and years to get to the end of this story? And what I've come to realize, especially after 6.3, is it's because it's not about the destination or the truth, it's the journey.
True, and because the main character, the Traveler, has to fall in love with this world. It is legitimately preordained by the Teyvat teaser trailer that the Traveler will fall in love with this world and want to defend it, and they even have now deemed Teyvat as their home. Before, they were like, yo, home is whenever I'm with my sibling. Now, the Traveler, home is Teyvat. This is my home now.
I know that sounds cheesy. Teyvat must be protected. There must be a replacement for the heavenly principles. The Jester would seize authority from the gods. He cannot be left in charge. Ambitious humans are dangerous. That much is true. And certain gods have proven...
And you know what's so crazy? Knowing that the heavenly principles views ambitious individuals as a threat to their world structure, it makes even more sense why the Traveler more than likely will not obtain a vision as we continue through the story, because the Traveler doesn't have an ambition that's so great that's perceived as a threat by the heavenly principles, right? They don't have a great and powerful ambition to seek greater power, which is the main reason why the heavenly principles has its fucking system set off and drop fucking nails anytime there's some seeking of like greater power going on in Teyvat, right? It makes sense that the Traveler will be the one to replace them.
Proven unworthy. Even a flawless AI program doesn't seem to work because the punishments are too harsh for not abiding. So what is the solution? Well, we are the solution. A descender that has started our journey with Paimon, right in Mondstadt from day one, going from nation to nation, making friends, memories, sharing moments with key individuals and saving each nation, becoming an integral part of every nation's story within recent memory. Right now, us, the current Traveler, is getting stronger and stronger, embracing each nation and their element, the ideals, the characters, the Archons. And when we inevitably overthrow Celestia and seize control, for the first time in Teyvat's history, somebody like us, who cares deeply about this world and every single living being within it, somebody that every single nation looks up to, somebody that the people of Teyvat can put their faith in to protect them from the outside worlds and universe. With our Descender status, once we have our full power unlocked at the end of this journey, we will also have everyone's faith within Teyvat backing us. So rather than keep people imprisoned here, you could have a full planet united against any threats that would...
Bro, this is going to be the craziest Spirit Bomb Dragon Ball Z moment once we get to that point in the story. I promise you. It's going to be crazy.
Step foot in Teyvat. And maybe that is the meaning of this journey, to make Teyvat what you came here to do in the first place. Your new home. Since your original home, according to your own description of your new outfit, was destroyed. And this is the only true way Teyvat can move forward, where everyone lives in peace.
Yep, and Skirt gonna be there as our right-hand man, as she says at the end of her story quest. Legitly, she will be the right-hand man of the Traveler, alongside them as they create this new world, this better world for everyone, this home that can be this world that can be a home for everyone.
peace and harmony. Maybe not too much harmony, but you get the point. It was very subtle, but remember, Columbina went out of her way to ask us, is Teyvat our home? Do we consider it home? The traveler had to think about it, but then they said, yes. And that right there is the true meaning of Genshin Impact that translates into God's impact. And you know, since we have such a good relationship with Columbina, much like Nibelung did back in the day, we can totally entrust Columbina to watch over Teyvat while we go explore in Genshin.
Oh yeah, that is crazy. Yeah, we do. So we're going to have Skirk be our right-hand man, our sword, and then we're going to have Columbina be our left-hand man, and being the moon that also watches over Teyvat. Oh man, the lineup is crazy right now. The Traveler got so many powerful individuals a part of their group right now that when they become the new god of this world, everything will be set. It's gonna be golden, nigga. Oh my gosh.
Genshin Impact 2, if we decide to leave Teyvat. But let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you like this?
Yep, because it's gonna be defended by two powerhouses. Ain't nobody getting past them. The only way that's happening, they gotta be superior than them.
Theory, do you agree? Or how do you interpret the new lore? I look forward to reading it, and there's no right or wrong answers.
Oh, okay. I'm going to end the reaction here then. This was a very good video. I really enjoyed it. Even though I've been yapping, I think this reaction been going on for at least 2 hours now. Hold up, I got to sneeze. Give me a second. Hold up. Oh. My apologies. Again, I'm sick. Anyway. Like I said, I enjoyed this video. Like, sub, turn on the notification bell, check my YouTube community Discord if you want. Link is on my channel. Check out my yapping topics and my yapping reaction content as well. Playlists for both sets of videos are available for the channel. I stream these gacha games and 2 non-gacha games on my channel. There's going to be 3 non-gacha games soon. Those being Genshin, Star Rail, Zenless, Wuwa, and Infield. Granted, I'm playing more so the main story content. And then the 2 non-gacha games being Graduate Rush Remastered and Fate Samurai Remnant as well. And I want to add Tales of Berseria PS5 version on there as well, so I can finally stream that playthrough, because I really enjoy that game. Anyway, that's all I have to say. Tell me how y'all feel about this theory made by the Genshin, the Gamer Chronicles, in the comment section below. This is KallaTheYapper signing out. Peace. Also, share the video around. Bye.